Welcome to How to Be a Humane Leader Without Losing Your Job. We're here to chat about humane leadership in a way that's real and relatable, tackling work-life challenges and offering practical advice to navigate tough decisions. Whether you're leading a team or navigating your own career, we've got you covered. I'm Chris Olerking, a Fortune 100 IT leader, and with me is Roberto Torres, a startup engineering leader. We'll dive into real-world stuff, share experiences, and offer guidance on leading with compassion while keeping your career on track. Today, we'll discuss how does your appearance, clothing, or haircut impact your influence or interview skills when you're looking for a new job. Hey, Roberto, how you doing down there in Mexico today?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much. How about you?
I'm doing good. The World Cup traffic's not impacting me too much here in Knoxville, but we've had some visiting teams practicing at some of our universities and stuff, so I guess they're attracting crowds. But you're a little closer to the action, I think, than I am.
Yes, lucky guy that you are, huh? But yeah, today Mexico plays at the Estadio Azteca. So today is going to be really mayhem around here. I'm going to be working home office. Otherwise, I wouldn't.
Yeah,
I wouldn't get
you
out.
spend your whole day in traffic.
Yeah, watching the game, by the way.
No, working hard, working hard.
Yeah. That.
Well, working hard like I am, right? So how does your appearance impact what people think of you and if you're either going for a job interview or maybe you've got the job, but you want to be more influential at your job. How does your appearance impact you? What do you think of me today?
I think that you're going to work on the farm and you're dressed as the farm requires it. And most importantly, the culture of the farm. So good, man.
Exactly. And for those of you who are only listening, I'm wearing suspenders, a t-shirt, farm pants. I'm ready to go out and work in the woods. And the reality is, a humane leader tries to judge people by their character and their hard work, their output. What do they do? How are they helping the team and the company? But the reality is we do have some biases, right? We have some biases around appearance. Are you well kept or not well kept? Are you dressed appropriately for the job and work environment? Is the culture that you're in a very formal culture, suit and tie? Or is it something where, even though you're the head of marketing, you could walk in suspenders, a white t-shirt, and farm pants? It makes a difference, right? And how people are going to think of you, whether they, the reality is a humane leader should not look at any of that stuff and really look at the quality of your character and the output of your work. But we've got some biases, right? Sometimes we have biases.
Yes, indeed. And you nail it perfectly. Is um how does the rest of the peers and the workers at the company get dressed? Maybe it's part of the culture, maybe it is not. Maybe it is customer facing when you had to have a tie, a suit and a tie. So yeah, Uh, back when I was working on my first startup 28 years ago, I was hired. I was sent to a course in the States. I returned back, and the first day I got into the new company, and I was dressed as I used to be working at the bank, which was suit and tie. And the operations manager was having the same dress code. Suddenly, the CEO arrives in sneakers, jeans, a t-shirt, and looks at us and what is going on? Why are you dressed like this? No. Over here, you don't require to be like that. If there is a customer, you have to be business casual, that is dockers and a shirt. But if it's not, you could come in a t-shirt, sneakers, and a jeans. And I think it's important for everybody to be aligned to that. Otherwise, you will feel uncomfortable. as I did back then.
Yes, yeah, and it's it's two things. It's your personal comfort, and are you also, because of the culture, making some of the other coworkers feel odd? Um, and again, even as a humane leader, you try to not look at those things, but the reality is we're humans, and we will to some degree. And so if you're dressed significantly different than the majority of your coworkers, they may not feel as comfortable around you, whether you're the leader or you're the individual contributor in the team. And so it is important to recognize that there's some value in trying to fit in. Now, after you've been there years and years and decades, if you're kind of quirky and you go in and you're wearing suspenders and nobody else is, maybe that'll be acceptable because people have known you and they've worked with you for 25 years. But, certainly in these initial impressions, those first impressions really do count.
Yeah.
And so you need to, consider what's the style, what is the culture of the area. If you're an expat, right, you grew up in Mexico and now you're working in Argentina, you're working in the United States, there may be some cultural differences. In general, in the large corporate environment that I was in and have since left, most leaders did not have beards, for example. And for those of you who are only listening, Roberto has a beard, and today I'm very clean shaven. So if both Roberto and I were going for the same job and we had very similar qualifications in my great big corporation, they were more likely to pick me, clean shaven, no mustache, no facial hair, over the person with the beard. Even though I'm, what, 6 years older than you?
Yes, you are.
So those kinds of things, unfortunately, we need to recognize those, when we're going for that new position, even with it in the same company, right? Even if we're just applying within the company or if we're applying someplace else, people are going to judge us based on our appearance, our clothes, etc. It's not fair, but sometimes life is not fair. And you need to recognize some of these things and try and fit in. One of the phrases we used to have was, don't dress for the job you have, dress for the job you want to have.
Yeah.
So if all the team members all wear polo shirts and Dockers type slacks, that's great. Did you notice that every single director wears a sport coat? Interesting. Well, maybe once a week, you should wear a sport coat. Don't do it all the time because then it's really obvious that you're trying, to
To
look
fit.
like that kind of leader. But you can adjust your appearance a little bit and gain a little traction on your career.
Yes, indeed, because it's not only that you mingle with the directors, it's that you dress like them also. Um, when you told about the bird that I have, I remember that 20 years ago at interviews at Walmart, they told me I didn't have a beard. I was totally clean shaven. But within the rules of the company, Walmart Mexico, um, was that you couldn't have facial hair. It was forbidden for everybody. It didn't matter the position. It was
Even the women?
sometimes yes, sometimes yes. And today is allowed because companies have to change. They cannot be obsolete and they cannot go with the old ways. They had to, at some time, at some moment, turn into a new change, whatever is doing. Hey, I didn't, this candidate didn't accept our offer because facial hair was forbidden, and they went to our competition. Oh, that hurts. I'm going to change it. Um, and I remember I was working at a bank in the 90s, in the late 90s, and as I mentioned, I used to wear a suit and a tie. And that bank, because I have some friends, imagine 30 years later, that are still working over there, they have told me that they don't go for many years for suit and tie. They go more like a business casual, and Fridays they go as they could go with jeans. But that company decided to go forward. If you're customer facing, then you have to wear a suit and a tie. But it's the less companies who does that now, the ones that were the most.
Yes. And you have to just be aware of what's going on around you. I mean, I know a lot of people with very strong personalities that will say, I don't care. I'm going to dress the way I want. I'm going to be the way I want. I'm going to have a beard, not have a beard. I'm going to have radical haircut. I'm going to have really long hair. I'm going to have super short hair. I'm going to shave my head. Whatever, whatever it is, that's choice. You can do that, but realize that unfortunately not everyone is a humane leader, and even the humane leader sometimes may have some bias, and they say, "Look, I appreciate your freedom to have, wear suspenders into work, but I can tell that culturally you're not going to be a fit for our organization. So you may have great skills, but culturally you're going to disrupt the team. And when we're hiring, we have to hire and fire with the whole team in mind. That's what a humane leader has to do. We have to judge and say, look, if do I think that Roberto's as qualified as Chris? Yes, he is. But boy, everybody in the office, they just really hate facial hair. I'm making this up, obviously, right? But man, they really hate it. Which one should I gamble on hiring then? Now, Chris could end up starting to grow a beard, but today he doesn't have one. So maybe I look on LinkedIn. He's never had a beard in any of his posts. And while I'm trying to be as humane about it as possible, if I feel both candidates are equal, but culturally, I think Chris is going to fit better because he doesn't have facial hair, then I'm going to hire Chris. Because as a humane leader, it isn't just about the individual candidate. It's fitting that candidate into the puzzle of our organization. So
Yeah.
sometimes you do have to look at appearance, I guess, is what I would say, is that it's naive to say appearance should not matter at all, zero. I disagree with that. It is not zero. It shouldn't be the only decision factor, but to say it's zero, you're lying to yourself. You're lying to what culture of a successful organization is. The culture of the organization matters. And if you don't, as a humane leader, assess that culture and try and figure out which candidates are the best fit, it's going to be a problem in the long run. I've seen it in the long run.
Yes, I know. Some ground rules have to be set. When I used to go to startups, new startups, I thought that dress code was important. So I created some ground rules for my team. And then I talked with HR about these rules. But basically, it was you could come in jeans, sneakers, or whatever, t-shirts, but you cannot come in sports jerseys, and I mean from teams, because it could be, you come from one team that another team member hates. You know, it's like a rivalry.
Yes,
So
culture
rather,
clash.
yeah. So rather than going to allow that, it's forbidden and people respect it. Also, one thing it is a cap. You cannot wear a cap. You have to comb your hair and comb, and to feel comfortable. And there are cultures that allow it, but I think that a humiliator, when it sets some ground rules, it allows the team to have a harmony, because everybody is aligned to that harmonical dress code, and people feel comfortable. And one thing is that a humane leader might be stretching the rules when of the company, but it doesn't break it because it would be weird to see someone wears a some teams wear a suit and a tie and you a t-shirt, you know. But at least
Exactly.
if you set a ground rules, it's really important for
Yeah.
everybody.
And it does evolve. A company's culture evolves, just like you mentioned with the bank, where they were
Yeah.
very formal. They've relaxed it. Usually doesn't happen overnight. You don't generally go straight from suit and tie to t-shirts and blue jeans, in a week, but it evolves. And a humane leader assesses that culture change and lets it evolve into something that the whole team, the whole company is comfortable with. I think that some of these unnatural things where just just as this isn't per se cultural exactly, but when all of a sudden companies had you can work at home, and now we're going to do 180 degrees and have a company culture where I expect everybody in the office 5 days a week, and you just turn the switch and start that. That's been very problematic. Why? Culture change doesn't happen rapidly. So when we think about, you know, dress code, appearance, um, those kinds of things that are acceptable evolve over time. Tattoos, for example, for a long time, tattoos were really frowned upon, right? Now, if I walked into the office and I had a tattoo on the back of my hand or something, I don't think anybody would even notice, not even at a big corporation. But
Mm.
if I walked in and had tattoos all over my face and all kinds of weird symbols, it would be distracting to the team. Does it mean I'm not as functional as I was before? Does it mean I can't produce as well as before? No, but you need to realize that there may be those inhumane leaders who may frown on that. So you can deal with it. It's your choice, freedom of choice. I can choose to get my face all tattooed if I want. But you do need to understand that there may be inhumane leaders that are going to find that unacceptable, and you may not get that next promotion. Why? Well, because sometimes we might need to put you in front of the customers, and we're concerned the customers won't like that. Yeah, but that's not fair. I'm the strongest performer. Life's not fair, though, also, right? As a humane leader, we need to be able to communicate to our team that I agree, you should be able to get all the tattoos you want. But with every action and behavior that we do, there's consequences. As long as you're okay with the consequences, do what you want. I'm all in support of that as the humane leader. But recognize that not everybody is going to be humane and fair, and they may decide that, no, you can't be the next leader of marketing because you're going to have to be in front of customers a lot. And me, as the CEO of the whole company, I'm just not ready for that culture change that fast. Maybe in 10 years that'll be acceptable, but today it's not, and you just need to recognize the, you know, consequences of your actions. You're free to do whatever you want, but just realize that not every company culture is going to accept what you want to do. So be prepared to accept those consequences. I hope the
Yeah.
humane leader has a good discussion with you like this to explain the consequences of your actions. Hey, your actions are totally okay. We have no company policy against it. But the culture of the company is not going to accept this. You're not losing your job over it. You won't be fired, but you may not be promoted. It's those kinds of things I think that, as the company culture evolves, it'll get more progressive, it'll allow more things, but not every company has got a lot of humane leaders. A lot of companies are fairly conservative, at least initially, and culture changes slowly. So think about those things when you're going for your next interview, either inside the company or out. When you're applying for a new job, what's the company culture of where you're going? And does it fit with where you want to be in your appearance, with your suspenders on the farm, or with your suit and tie at a consulting firm, at a high end consulting firm with a suit and tie every day? think about those culture things, you know, because a humane leader tries to make life fair, but life is not fair. A humane leader will do his best or her best to make the work environment fair. But the reality is it's not always fair. So there's going to be consequences to your actions. Ponder that and do what you want. I support you doing whatever you want. But if you tattoo all over your face, Roberto, I have a feeling your company culture probably won't promote you above the level that you're at now.
I know, and I won't. I won't. Um, Before we end this episode, let me tell you a couple of things. The first one is I read a survey made by the Mexican government a few months ago, and it said that 30% of the people on working age in Mexico have tattoos, at least one. So it's common right now. What it used to be before, no, 20 years ago, it wasn't common. Now it is common. So either you accept it as a human leader or as any leader, you accept it, or you go against it, and you're going to lose in this case. Okay, and if a one of my friends would go to an interview and it's remotely in Zoom or whatever tool they use, I wouldn't say, hey, wear a suit and tie unless it is a consulting company, it's a financial company or whatever. But what I would suggest is this friend of mine would be wear a shirt and a jacket. Don't wear a tie. And beneath that, you could wear a swimsuit. It could be in sandals. It could be whatever. But whatever is seen through the camera, wear it nice. And then it, I think you will have better chances when you're interviewed by for a manager or a director or a VP or a C-level position than other kind of positions. I think people will always react and behave to you as they look at you rather than you wearing an Iron Maiden shirt with Eddie and the devil over there.
Without a doubt. And an appropriate background. For those of you who are only listening, I have in my farmer clothes, I've got my background of a whole bunch of deer walking through our farm. So pick an appropriate background. I'm going for a farmer job. That's a very appropriate background.
Yeah, indeed. Well, man, cool. Was a great topic, and I'll see you